Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Vara. This is a video for lesson 4-2, day 2, which starts on page 13 in your note packets. That is a warm-up that I suggest you do on your own and then check it with your teacher when you are in class. We're going to get right to 4-2, day 2. So here's a little reminder of point slope form. Remember, what do you need to write an equation of a line? You need a point. This is where you will substitute your point. And this is your slope. All right, so when we're reading these problems, we want to be paying special attention for either a slope, which a slope is a rate. So if we find anything when we're reading that sounds like a rate, that is our slope. Or if they don't give us the slope directly, then they have to give us 2 points. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So we need a point and a slope to write an equation of a line, so they either have to give us the slope or give us 2 points. So this says Mrs. Keck dropped a new song. Right now the song is getting 20 views per hour on YouTube and is expected to stay at this, there's a nice magic word, rate. So that makes me think this right here is my slope because it said and is expected to stay at this rate. So they just told me that is a rate. If you read that, that also sounds like a rate, 20 views per hour. A rate is like miles per hour, hours per, or dollars per hour. So anything that sounds like a rate will be your slope. So I already know my slope is 20. And it's 20 views per hour. So I'm going to put views over hours. Now this is helpful because slope is rise over run, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This means, whoops, don't put an x there. When we're doing slope, the y's are on the top, so that means my y is views and my x is hours. My independent variable is hours. My dependent is views. Okay, so to have a slope, they have to give me a point. I can't write an equation of a line unless I have a point and a slope. After 8 hours, the song has 200 views. Well, 8 hours, hours are x, and views are y, so that is a coordinate point. Remember, hours are x, and views are y. It's very helpful to label your variables here, your x and y, when you're finishing the problem. It's helpful to have those labeled. But now I have a point and a slope. So if I have a point and a slope, I can write an equation in point-slope form. So there's my point, there's my slope. So I'm simply going to do y minus y equals m, which is 20, x minus x. So that is the first thing they asked me to do, write an equation for this situation. I just did that. That is the equation that represents this situation. This means I can figure out the views for any value of x or any number of hours that I am given. And then it says use the equation to answer the question. So I'm going to use my equation here. And here's the question. Use your equation to predict how many views. So that means I'm finding y, I'm finding views, and then it says you will have after 15 hours. So 15 hours means x equals 15, because right here I said hours are x. Okay, so now I want to take my equation here. I'm finding y, and what am I doing? I'm letting x equal 15. So this is the same equation, but I threw out the x and put in a 15. Okay, now we just need to simplify this. So you can put this whole side in your calculator, and if you do, you get 140. And then over here I have y minus 200. Add 200 to both sides, and you get y equals 340. Story problem requires a story answer. And I put up here just a reminder that when I'm finding a y, I'm finding views. So that tells me exactly what my units are there, 340 views. Okay, the next one I made one little change, which I would like you to go to the very last two words where it says 30 days and change that to 5 weeks for me. Okay, this says Kathy needs to save money for a smartphone. She decides to do odd jobs around the neighborhood to earn money. After the first week, Kathy has saved $50. By the third week, she has saved $150. Write a linear equation and use it to predict how much money Kathy has after 5 weeks. Now, when I read that, I didn't notice anything that sounded like a rate. So if they don't give you the rate or the slope, then they have to give you 2 points. So let's think about what we know here. After the first week, Kathy has saved $50. So I'm thinking my x is weeks and my y is dollars. So that means I have a coordinate point of 1 week, $50, and then it says by the third week, she's saved $150. Now some of you right now may have already calculated the rate in your head. This is a pretty basic rate, but if you haven't, you need to notice those are points. And then read carefully. They didn't give you a number here, but they said the first week, so that's a 1, and then they said the third week, that's a 3. So let's use our slope formula. Y's go on the top, so 150 minus 50 over 3 minus 1. 150 minus 50 is 100. 3 minus 1 is 2. So my slope is 50. So this is 50. And what are these Y's? This is dollars per weeks, which makes sense. We said weeks were X, those go on the bottom. Dollars were Y, those go on the top. For my point, I actually have 2 of them. Doesn't matter which one you pick. I picked that one because the numbers are smaller. I think that might be easier to work with. And now I can write my equation. Y minus Y equals M, which is also 50, X minus X. Okay, that's my equation. Use the equation to answer the question. So let's go back up here. It says write a linear equation. Use it to predict how much money. So again, I'm finding Y because money is Y. After 5 weeks. So right here I wrote myself or reminded myself that X is weeks. So this means X equals 5. So I want to copy this equation. When I get to this X, I'm going to throw out the X and put in a 5. So I'm going to have Y minus 50 equals M. X I know, it's 5. 5 minus 1. Okay, then we just need to simplify this. 5 minus 1 is 4. 50 times 4. Hopefully you can do that in your head. That's like 50 cents 4 times. Right, that is 200 or $2. And Y minus 50, add 50 to both sides. Y equals 250. What are these again? See how helpful it is if you wrote it up here? Oh, these Y's are dollars, so my units here are just a dollar sign. Okay, that is it. What I recommend you do next is go to your practice packet and do some practice problems in your practice packet. And that concludes lesson 4-2.